inquiry on this 9th of June 2023. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you honorable members of this committee. Also to take the opportunity to welcome the public protector, to welcome the evidence leaders, welcome our entire support staff with us, the members of the media, and as well as the members of the public in their various platforms. We're resuming today. We met on Wednesday, and we paused for a day yesterday in order to sort out what I regard should be the last hurdles that we had to attend to, and therefore to have a proper start, it's going to be important that to help us in that regard in terms of where we paused. I'm going to invite a representative of the State Attorney's Office, Mr. Isaac Chawe, to get onto the platform. There are a few matters that are important that they be put on record, and he will be helping us to briefly do that on behalf of the State Attorney's Office. Mr. Chawe, are you able to hear me? Are you on the platform?
Good morning, Chairperson. I am able to hear you. I hope I'm audible enough. Thank you.
Okay, I can hear you. There's a bit faint, you're a bit far. Whether you're far from the mic, I can't hear you properly inside here. Can you just reposition so that maybe increase part of your volume? It's important that we hear you.
Yes, Chairperson, I will try. I'm using a very small gadget, but I hope I will be audible. Thank you so much.
That's much better. That's much better. Am I pronouncing your surname properly? Is it Chowe or Chawe?
The first one, Chowe.
Chowe.
Chowe, yes, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
No, thank you,
Yes.
because I could easily have confused it with my clan name, which is Chawe. So excuse me when I give you my clan name.
You'll be forgiven for that, Chairperson.
Thank you. Please go ahead. I want to invite you to share what you need to share with us on behalf of the State Attorney's Office. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning also to the honorable members of the committee. Chairperson, I'm not sure whether should I remain not visible, or is it fine if I were to proceed as it is?
I would request that so that we know who we're talking to, at least so that you can show up, pitch up, and if there's a network problem, you can then switch off so that we know we're speaking to you. As I'm doing, you can see me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm sorry that there is a bit of darkness where I'm seated, but I hopefully hope that members and other members of the public can see me. Chairperson, maybe let me start here. That I have to explain my status first, where I stand as an attorney from the Office of the State Attorney Pretoria. I am from the State Attorney's Pretoria, and I'm one of the attorneys there. From the onset of this matter, Chairperson and honorable members, I have been instructed by the Office of the Public Protector South Africa to be the attorney of record for Advocate Mkhwebane. And the start of my appointment as such, it started first where I had to be the instructing attorney in order for me to facilitate the appointment of a private attorney who was supposed to have been briefed in the matter. And in fact, the attorney, HM Chani attorneys were appointed in the matter. But due to the developments in the matter, it happened then that HM Chani attorneys were then debriefed from the matter, which then automatically, by default, if I may use the word, then the state attorney became the attorney of record for the public protector, Advocate Mkhwebane. And fast forward then, Chairperson and members of the committee, it happened then that there were then issues that I need to proceed and appoint counsel in the matter. As matters stand, I have received numerous, should I say, maybe a communication from my client, being the Office of the Public Protector SA, and also communication from Advocate Adv Mkhwebane, where she raised sharply the issue of my appointment and the state attorneys representing her as the attorney of record. There is at this stage, Chairperson and honorable members, that my status as the attorney of record, so if I refer to myself, I simultaneously also refer to the state attorney Pretoria or the state attorney as such, that the state attorney's status as the legal representative of Advocate Mkhwebane is actually in dispute, in that she has raised in our correspondence and communication that in as far as she is concerned, and by the way the matter has been developing, I cannot, or the state attorney cannot be the attorney of record, as he stated that the state attorney is conflicted in the matter. And therefore, when the state attorney is conflicted, they cannot profess to be acting on her behalf. And the genesis for the conflict of interest, as Advocate Mkhwebane puts it, is that the state attorney Pretoria, the state attorney Cape Town, the sister office of ours in Cape Town, has appointed evidence leaders in this particular hearings. And therefore, it can't be that another state attorney on the opposite side can now be acting for her. So that is the basis of her objections to the state attorney Pretoria being the attorney of record. So in that manner, Chairperson and honorable members, and I would suggest that all members and yourself, Chairperson, the ethical issues which are standing before us, or as the state attorney and myself, is that once a client objects to the representation by an attorney, it then stands that it will be unethical for me to even start to proceed and address this particular committee as an attorney of record for Advocate Mkhwebane. There are other issues which Advocate Mkhwebane has raised in her communication with me. I don't know whether it will be appropriate for me to proceed to then address the committee further on other issues which Advocate Mkhwebane raised with me. But I'll leave then this to the chairperson and honorable members to guide me as to whether can I put on record what other issues Advocate Mkhwebane has raised with me. But I'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Chowe. Maybe before I ask you to proceed further, just a quick clarity. So are you now confirming that you would not have briefed counsel, given the status you are tabling here. Can you just respond to that?
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable members. In the course of me and the State Attorney Pretoria being appointed as attorneys of record, we proceeded to issue what we would normally call brief covers to the 3 advocates who have been involved in the matter. We did do that, but just by way of an explanation is that even though such briefs have been issued out, they seem to have issues with their own status, in that because of the fact that the main client does not necessarily recognize or agree to her representation by the state attorney, those briefs are also in dispute, in that an attorney who has not been instructed properly by a client to issue such instructions or briefs to the advocates, those briefs, in a way, they also become null and void. So that is the situation which we are facing as we speak, Chairperson.
Would you also care to just help this committee and the public to just educate us what is the nature of this conflict, so that we are on the same page?
Yes, thank you so much, Chairperson and honorable members of the committee. I've already maybe indicated in passing and in my introduction that, number one, indeed there is a dispute on the representation by the state attorney for Advocate Mkhwebane. That is one issue which is raised, that there is a patent clear conflict of interest. That's how matters stand. On the other issue, other than the status of the state attorney in the matter, and in its inability to appoint counsel on behalf of a client, there are other issues which Advocate Mkhwebane has raised, specifically on the legal funding which has been allocated to her in this matter. The issue is that there is, I will suggest that it's public knowledge, that the Office of the Public Protector South Africa has allocated an amount of 4 million rand to fund the legal representation of Advocate Mkhwebane. The bone of contention out of this particular allocation of funds for legal representation is that Advocate Mkhwebane feels, or she is actually of the view, that there is no clear particularity regarding what these funds, the manner in which they have been allocated, what is that should be excluded or included in the funds. So, like for instance, if I might give an example, Chairperson and honorable members, on the issue of whether, if for whatever reason, this particular allocated amount is exhausted and the matter is still ongoing, the condition that she must now, out of her own funds, proceed to fund the legal representation of Advocate Mkhwebane. And okay, I'm sorry, Chairperson, I thought you were raising some other issues, but then let me proceed.
Yes, go ahead.
One other issue which Advocate Mkhwebane has raised is that it must not be a forgotten issue that the matter of her legal funding is pending before court. So it cannot be that if this matter has not been resolved between the parties, we can for granted then take it that we can still proceed with the matter, even when she's not, can I say, satisfied with the way the conditions are set. So the issue has been raised sharply that this matter is still pending in court, and as a litigant, she is still entitled to prosecute that particular court application to its finality. So in my view, Chairperson and members of the committee, what Advocate Mkhwebane is articulating is that if for whatever reason, the issue of her legal funding cannot be resolved out of court, if I may use my own words, then the court will have to be given opportunity to listen to the parties and articulate their representation in court regarding this issue. That is one other issue, Chairperson. And one other issue which doesn't have much to do with legal representation, but has much to do with the proceedings and the committee as such, is that Advocate Mkhwebane has raised that there is, as we speak, a matter which needs to be dealt with the constitution of the committee itself, that the chairperson of the committee has to recuse himself, and if that might not maybe be reached, then the matter cannot proceed. And unfortunately, as I've said, the State Attorney Pretoria and myself, Chairperson and honorable members, I have no mandate to move such an application for the recusal of the chairperson because of my status, which I have indicated in the opening address to you. Therefore, there is another issue which is still going to be brought forward sharply on the issue of the constitution of the current committee, in that the current chairperson, being yourself, Honorable Chairperson, that you need to be recused from this particular hearings. And in as far as I read Advocate Mkhwebane's letter to me and our discussions in the matter, that is going to be a matter which is going to take priority whenever this particular committee starts its hearings. I know, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, that the registrar, I almost say the registrar, but I should say that the secretariat of the committee had invited me to obtain dates from the advocates on when will they be available to at least appear before the committee. That I also could not do because of the problematic nature of my status, or the status of the State Attorney Pretoria in the matter. So even if I were to contact the advocates, who I must say to the committee and honorable members, I had not received any animosity or any negativity with my communication with the advocates in this matter. We have been cordial all the time. The unfortunate part is that due to the issues of the legal funding and other matters discussed, I'm unable to properly and ethically take any kind of assurances of dates and their availability on the further hearings of the committee. Chairperson, I hope I have covered all grounds which you may have needed me to do. But if there are any other outstanding issues, Chairperson and honorable members of the committee, I will attempt to my utter best to attend to those. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Choe. Maybe two more issues to just raise as clarity before I pause with you. So you are indicating that as a result of this objection by the PP, the hands of the state attorney are tied, Am I getting you right?
100%, Chairperson, that is indeed so.
Am I also understanding you correct to say that your client's position is that already the 4 million is not enough before we even resume for the 22 days that are set for this committee?
Yes, Chairperson. Can I just make, although it's just a technical issue, for all intents and purposes, I'm still the attorney of record for the Public Protector South Africa, meaning the mother body, if I may say so. I still have instruction for them. But in as far as Advocate Mkhwebane is, who is also now the actual client, supposed to be actual client, that is indeed so. The confirmation is that as it is, that the amount allocated, there is no clarification as to whether it's not enough or not. But the issue is
you are muted. You are muted.
Sorry.
You are muted. You are saying the issue is?
The issue regarding the 4 million rand, I'm unable to say that Advocate Mkhwebane says it's inadequate. It might be that it might appear to be inadequate in her maybe view, but what is problematic with the allocation of the funds seems to be the conditions which are attached to it, specifically that she will have to born out of her pocket any amount beyond and above the 4 million. So I do not have instructions to say the 4 million, it's not enough. The issue is that what if it gets exhausted and then she will have to born this out of her pocket? That is the bone of contention, Chairperson.
Thank you. Perhaps my last point is my understanding correct that also the 4 million or whatever fund is also not in your mandate to determine? You are muted. You are muted.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think I must get used to these gadgets. Yes, it is indeed so. Oh yes, I'll leave it unmuted. Thank you so much, Chairperson. It is indeed so, Chairperson, that the State Attorney's office or myself, as the member of the State Attorney, we have no, I don't know how to put it, we have no mandate to determine the fees which needs to be allocated, whether adequate or inadequate, in as far as this particular hearings.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chue. Maybe before I go to the next point, the next step, can I, whilst you're on the platform, Mr. Chue, if to just check if any members have any particular clarity or question that they would want to pose to you. I will allow that if any member wants to ask some clarity or question to Mr. Isaac Chue. Honorable Mulder.
Chairperson, if I may ask the State Attorney, do I understand it correctly then that the Public Protector is declining these services that the State Attorney's office is prepared to provide?
You got that, Mr. Chue? Go ahead.
Dr. Mulder, thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. Dr. Mulder, it's indeed so that the Public Protector is declining to be represented by the State Attorney Pretoria or any other State Attorney for that matter due to the issue of conflict of interest.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Honorable Mulder?
No, thank you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Nkosi.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to Mr. Chue and all in the meeting. As a follow-up question on Dr. Melder's question, did she indicate, or this way, did the Public Protector SA indicate what alternative would there be, one, or did the Public Protector indicate what alternative if she declines this legal representation?
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi. Good morning, Honorable Nkosi. In as far as Advocate Mkhwebane herself, she has indicated that she's open to accepting legal representation from any panel of attorneys which are on the database of the Public Protector South Africa. So she is not refusing to be represented as long as that representation, it's not the state attorney, but she is amenable to have representation from attorneys who are on the database of the Public Protector South Africa. So in as far as the funds and whether they may be increased or decreased or what other situations will take place on that, I do not have instructions from the Office of the Public Protector South Africa.
Thank you. Honorable Nkosi, follow up?
No, Chairperson, the question was whether the PPSA has indicated an alternative if she does not accept.
Oh, okay. Oh, my apologies, Honorable Nkosi. I might misunderstood your question. To this far, there has not been instructions on the alternative, Honorable Nkosi. That will be the short answer.
So let me now invite the PP.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, to members of the committee, the members of the public. Mr. Chowe, yes, first time seeing you as well, but we spoke over the phone. I think I need to clarify something, and Mr. Chowe can also add or indicate before he's excused, then I can deal with other issues. In the letter which I wrote to Mr. Chowe, it was very clear that I indicated to him that nobody consulted me when they were terminating the services of my attorney, who were appointed per the PFMA, meaning from the panel of attorneys of the Public Protector South Africa. And I never refused to be represented. Hence my letter where paragraph 28, it's very clear. I don't know why Ms. Ibrahim is trying to just put some unnecessary confusion to the members and say I said state attorney even in the past. Now they managed to do that, the PPSA. I told them when Sianeho was briefed several times, was my attorney of choice who briefed my counsel of choice. And Sianeho withdrew, or his services actually was terminated because of financial constraints or problems. Now I said, Chane is the attorney I can choose from the list, because taking into consideration that I want the office to continue to comply to PFMA, I don't want them to go outside of that. Hence, I said, Mr. Chane. Now they go ahead and terminate Mr. Chane, and Mr. Chane was appointed through the state attorney. So that arrangement, that's what they decided, that Mr. Chane will be managed by the state attorney. They won't be involved. I never had a problem because the monies come from Public Protector South Africa. Now, PPSA decide to terminate Chane, and state attorney also then write to Chane and terminate Chane. And now I don't have an attorney. So when I wrote that letter, I was still saying, you terminated Chane. If you then, and the letter I wrote to Mr. Chowe, I said, Chane or any other attorney from the list because now they've deviated the public protector by even approaching the state attorney, because that's a deviation. The state attorney is not members of, or they are not on our panel of attorneys. Now I was expecting them to have the decency of contacting me, because they write letters to me or emails and update me that PP, now we are saying to the state attorney, let them proceed. What is your view? We wouldn't be sitting here. They decide, they cancel, they withdraw or terminate a channel who's in hospital. Now I'm saying to their, in that paragraph 28, which Fatima is trying to conveniently confuse members and portray as if I said I need, I mean, by the very same Fatima, you indicated that the SG, Solicitor General, in the previous meeting indicated that there's a conflict. Now you try and trying to advise them that there's no conflict and something like that. The issue now is, can Chowe, let's say Chowe proceed, can Chowe continue to dispute and apply a court for the recusal of the chairperson? Can Chowe, our state attorney, go and litigate against the state attorney because you, chairperson, and others are represented by the state attorney? So I was trying to make sure that things are done properly. And if I was listened to and not being taken as if or being accused of delaying, this issue wouldn't have been arisen. So I even proposed in the letter to Mr. Chowe that, okay, if you don't want to use the panel of attorneys and you are deviating, possibly the CEO is deviating with the assistance of DPP, then you can also, there's my private attorney, RMT attorneys, possibly then you can brief those attorneys, and then we can proceed. The main thing, Chairperson, is that the legal profession, which I thought Mr. Chowe was going to indicate, Uguti, how the legal profession operates. Can the, I mean, there's no letter which ever went to even the chairperson, to any person, which comes directly from Advocate Mpofu, Matlape, or Chabalala. Always the attorney of record is the one who should be communicating the information. So I think, Chairperson, coming back to the issue of today appearing again before the committee, exactly 1 year since I was illegally suspended by the president, and the Western Cape High Court was very clear that that suspension was biased, was conflicted, and had ulterior motives. And it's 9 months since the Western Cape again said I should be returning back to the office, and because my suspension is illegal. And I then lodged, in fact, the president and the DA, same day, the DA lodged an application to the Constitutional Court as an agent application. It's 7 months now. No outcome as well on that particular matter. So, Mr. Chowe, for your information, there's a Constitutional Court judgment on me being represented by a legal practitioner of my choice, which you spoke about the issue of contempt in a way. And there's an application which is still pending. But anyway, that's that. The application or the complaint has been lodged with the Ethics Committee, where I requested the chairperson to withdraw, in fact, to recuse himself voluntarily. And Chairperson, today, I know you said you want me by 1 to write. I don't have an attorney. My attorneys have written a letter to you and indicated that in the legal process, I am entitled to the reasons why you are refusing to recuse yourself. So I'm faced with the situation now where I feel that then there's this persecution from all spheres of government, because I'm trying to exercise my rights here. You know, I'm facing the state, which is represented by the state attorney in all the matters where we litigated. Hence, as a public protector, we have a panel of attorneys. And I think it's very fair for the chairperson to even, it's unfair for the chairperson to even expect me to respond by the time which you've allocated. So I have sought legal opinion on my personal, in my personal capacity, hence the letter which has been written to the chairperson about the issue of being given reasons for the voluntary recusal of the chairperson. Therefore, the committee without legal representation will be a direct contempt of court, Mr. Chowe. There's a constitutional court judgment which is very clear on that particular issue, and there's various other cases which we brought before the court about that, and even the recusal of the chairperson on another on other facts and basis. It's before now the Supreme Court of Appeal. So I know that the chairperson would want to rule that I refuse legal representation. So you want to proceed. I never refuse. My letter is very clear. I need an attorney. That's how South Africa operates, unfortunately. And members of the public should know. And I think Fatima is the legal advisor. You should also be fair to members of the public that an attorney must brief counsel. And in this particular issue, indeed, an attorney must brief counsel. And I don't know why is it difficult for us to sit down, state attorney, public protector, we discuss this, we find an amicable way to deal with this particular issue, and then my counsel is properly briefed. But again, Chairperson, the issue that I must pay from my pocket on whatever is there, and what's worse, Chairperson and members of the public, I told Mr. Chowe, he should have said it. It's just that I didn't send her the letter from Galeka, because again, the letter from Galeka about the 4 million, and Chairperson, I think you read it yourself. It says the 4 million, I was told the 4 million is for my traveling, for my accommodation, for everything. I went there 3 times in Cape Town, hence now I'm appearing virtually. And that 4 million is no longer 4 million if we are using that money to exercise or to do anything which one is supposed to be doing. So I think, Chairperson, it's my submission, and I think I'm not declining any attorneys, and the letter is very clear. State attorneys, I said, and/or, because they, public protector, decided to involve them. Now they managed to appoint Chani. Why can't they appoint another attorney? But the fact of the matter is, I still want Chani if they go according to the panel of attorneys. If not, they can get another correspondent, and I've suggested who is that particular panel, which is RMT attorneys. So, Chairperson, PPSA, Public Protector South Africa CEO and Deputy Public Protector, unfortunately, are the ones who are causing all this delay and this confusion and this mess, because we should be cordial with each other, sit down and see how we can speedily assist the process. So I think I'll just indicate, Chairperson, that the legal representation, it's a must, unfortunately, for you to proceed with this particular matter.